refresh my memory. So there, you're telling me the story again, right? You are giving me the memory again by telling it to me in a way. Now, this is different from jog my memory. Jog my memory is sort of like you get one little tap, and then poof, it all comes back. Learning idioms is sometimes overwhelming because there are so many, right? There are so many of them. Where do you start? Sometimes you just have to jump in and start swimming around. But I like to break them down sometimes by type. Let's say idioms for, right? So idioms for sports, idioms for school, idioms for food, idioms for eating, idioms related to memory, okay? So we're going to talk about 3, actually 4 idioms. I'm going to give you some examples to help you understand, right? And if you have any questions, let me know. But the key to learning idioms is to know how to use them. If you learn something passively and you say, "Oh, I understand. Good example. Thank you so much." Do you really know it? My answer to that would be, no, you don't. Number 1, it's going to fade from your memory quickly if you don't do something with it. Number 2, if you've never used it, when you need it in a situation, in a conversation, it won't be there because you never practiced using it. So the key to learning idioms is to make your own examples. All you have to do is make 1 or 2 examples for each of the idioms. If you want to send those to me, I'd be happy to take a look. But the key is to make your own examples, okay? Practice, output. You got to do something with what you learn. All right. So let's start with slipped my mind. Slipped my mind. Now, we can replace this with any other possessive pronoun. Your, not any other, but this sort, right? Our, her, his, their. Now, if we say our, then it would be mine's, right? Because it has to agree, right? And if you want to change it and say slip my mind, that's okay too. It depends on the situation, right? Okay. So, slip my mind, what does it mean and how do we use it? If something slips your mind, then you forgot it, but it's not a general type of forgetting. It's usually something you forgot in the moment. In the moment that it was happening, you forgot it. But then you may remember later. And it's often a task or some action that you were supposed to do. And usually it's not a fact or information, right? Unless, again, that fact or information is required in a moment. Okay, this might not be super clear, so let me give you a few examples here, okay? I went out to run some errands, and I was asked to do some things on the errands or buy some things. I need to go to the post office. I don't know why. I need to pick up 39 baby chicks from the post office. Did you know that you can send and receive baby chickens via the U.S. post office? That's true, and it's very strange. So I need to go to the post office. I need to sit by the lake and feed the ducks. And I need to go to the supermarket to pick up some things. Now, I think I have a pretty good memory, so I've got my list in my head. I don't write things down, right? And so I need to get bread, milk, eggs, and laundry detergent. Bread, ilk, megs, milk, eggs, and bread, milk, eggs, and laundry detergent. Okay? So I go to the supermarket, I get bread, milk, eggs, and then I ask myself, am I good? Do I have everything? Yes. Okay, great. Then I go home. And then I'm asked, hey, where's the laundry detergent? And I say, sorry. It slipped my mind. Now, it's not to say that I can only be reminded by others. I might get home and then realize myself that I forgot the laundry detergent. It slipped my mind, right? So the key there is not that it's not in there. It's just that in the moment or at the time when recall was required, which is being at the supermarket, it wasn't there. Okay, in this case, I forgot that I was supposed to get laundry detergent and I remembered the other three. Okay, now what about, though, if it's on an exam, right? I'm taking an exam and I'm supposed to remember which year did Columbus sail the ocean blue? And I wrote 1792 because I didn't remember. It slipped my mind. That's a stupid example, but that's when I needed to recall something, I couldn't for whatever reason. Maybe I didn't have a good breakfast, or I was in a bad mood, or for any number of reasons. I could have been distracted. Whatever the reason is, it slips your mind in a moment, whether it's a fact or a task or anything like that, right? It's not about sort of long-term losing memory, right? If someone says, do you remember that time when we got in trouble for sneaking out of class in 3rd grade? And I say, no, it slipped my mind. That is not the correct usage of this, because that is something I've just forgotten about in my life. It's faded away. And you may remind me of it. Oh, yeah, vaguely now I remember. But I won't say it slipped away, because if you hadn't reminded me of it or told me about it again, I never would have remembered it again, probably, right? So we wouldn't use slipped my mind for that sort of general forgetting, general loss of memory. It is when we fail to recall things. All right, got it? Maybe one more example quickly. I was talking to someone. I'm talking to someone, and I told myself earlier that when I talk to this person, I was going to ask him a question, right? Next time I talk to David, I'm going to ask him about the thing. And I see David at the supermarket. David, hello, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just buying eggs, milk, and bread, and nothing else. Okay. And then after how do you do? How are the kids? How are the chickens? Good. I saw your Christmas decorations there. Blah, 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 to have some small talk. Okay. Then 10 minutes later, it slipped my mind to ask about the thing that I was going to ask about, right? Okay, so that's the same as the laundry detergent. All right, so we get the idea. That's how we use slipped my mind. Try to make your own examples to really get it. Now, how about jog or refresh? What? I just wrote resh. What the heck is wrong? Refresh my memory. All right, now this one I think very interesting because they're not exactly the same. They're used in different ways, okay? To jog, in this case, jog is not running, but jog is to kind of like push, and with a little push, bink, it comes back. And to refresh is to kind of do it over again in a way. So, okay, let's say, again, I'm talking to a school friend. We were classmates, and they say, remember the time when blah, 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 and I don't remember. And I say, tell me the story again. Refresh my memory. Or maybe I say, well, vaguely. Do you remember that time when we got in trouble because we snuck out of class? I say, vaguely. That means I barely remember. I remember getting in trouble, but I don't remember why. Okay. Then I say, can you refresh my memory? Refresh my memory. So there, you're telling me the story again, right? You are giving me the memory again by telling it to me in a way. Now, this is different from jog my memory. Jog my memory is sort of like you get one little tap and then poof, it all comes back, right? So maybe when we were getting in trouble, there was a couple of songs we loved listening to during that time, right? We liked the same music. I haven't listened to that music in a long time. And I hear that song playing on the radio, and suddenly, I remember the whole story. The music jogged my memory. So that's very, very different than refresh my memory. Refreshing my memory is the friend retelling me the story. Oh, yeah, the window was barely open, and we pushed it open, and then when the teacher was looking away, that's refreshing my memory. Jogging my memory is I hear a song from that time, or something happens that taps me and bing, unlocks it, like tapping me in the head. And then, this song reminds me of the time. And then I will say, it reminds me, it's an N, of when, it reminds me of when we got in trouble for, yes. And the whole story which was locked away in my memory, gets unlocked. But it's not as though anyone is giving it to me. It's as though it was already there and it just had a little lock in place. And the jogging my memory, the song in this case, unlocks the lock and then it floods back into my mind in a way, right? Now I remember it again. So it jogged my memory. So if something jogs your memory, it's a little push. If someone refreshes your memory, they tell you, right? So, okay, let's say a training, right? Hearing his voice helped jog my memory. So you did a training module for your work, and then someone asks you a question. You say, I kind of forget what we learned in that training module. And then, right, you hear another training module unrelated to that topic, but it's the same person speaking. Maybe it's my courses. You took one of my courses, and then you forgot some of the things you learned in the course, some of the courses you took. Hopefully not, but let's say you forgot one or two things. Then you take another course, and you hear my voice in the new course, and my voice jogs your memory about the old course. Yeah, I remember what he was talking about in the old course, that Building Your English Brain course. I learned, whatever you learned in that course. By the way, feel free to check those out in the links in the description, right? So that, my voice there jogs your memory. But if it's that training and I just don't remember it, then I could say to you, maybe you should re-watch the training to refresh your memory. Maybe you should re-watch. That means you watched it before, you forget. Re-watch it. Watch it again. Maybe you should take the course again to refresh your memory. I tell people to take my course one or two times. If you finish the course, you got a lot out of it, maybe in 6 months, go back, try it again. There might be a few things you pick up that you didn't notice the first time, a few things you forgot, to refresh your memory. It's actually good to do. So that's the difference between jog and refresh. And again, make your own examples of these. That's the key to remembering them. Okay, what about, last one here, this is the last one, rings a bell, or doesn't, well, that's a weird T, ring a bell. Okay, now this one is, all you have to do is recognize that something is in your mind, but you don't have to actually remember it. You just have to know that it's there somewhere, right? So if you imagine a little bell in your brain, ding-a-ling-a-ling, it rings if something someone has said makes you realize that that information is kind of maybe a little bit in your mind. And the bell does not ring if it's not there at all. You can't find anything. Let me give you an example to make this more clear, okay? We often, by the way, use it for recalling things like names, the names of people, the names of companies, the names of products. We use it for music, musicians, singers, the names of songs, the lyrics, things like that. The things we want to maybe just know we've heard before, not that we need to know every detail, right? So if something rings a bell, that may mean that it's just familiar. You've seen it before, you've heard it before, you know that it's in there somewhere, and it doesn't require that you have deep access, that you know the entire thing, right? So if we hear a song and someone says, yeah, this song, I think I've heard this before. And then I say, yeah, it rings a bell. That doesn't mean I know all the lyrics to the song or I know what it's called. That just means, yeah, I think I've heard it before. Okay, it rings a bell. Now, often we use this for names, place names, people names, for example. So if someone says, I recognize her. And then, but I don't remember her name. Didn't we meet her at the conference last year? What was the name? And then someone says, Danielle, was it Danielle? And I go, yes, that rings a bell. But maybe I can't be sure. I'm not too confident about it. I feel like it might be Danielle or Danny or Danito. Is that a name? Dorito, Doritos or something. That means it's familiar. I recognize it. I recognize the name when I see that person over there who, again, I'm familiar with. I think I've met her before. It rings a bell. But, again, I don't have to know that for sure. I don't have to say, oh, yes, that's Danielle from the company. That doesn't matter. Again, ringing a bell doesn't have to be all of it. It's just like, yes, I think so. But the opposite would be it doesn't ring a bell, right? So it rings a bell. Danielle, yes, that rings a bell, but I can't place the face. So there, maybe I don't recognize, or maybe no one is there, right? And someone is just talking about a person. Hey, do you remember that person we met last year at the conference? What was her name? Is it Danielle? Oh, yeah, Danielle. Danielle, that's right. I can't place the face, though. That means I remember the name Danielle, but I can't remember what she looks like. And so I couldn't tell you if that's her over there or not because I don't remember what she looks like, right? It rings a bell. But if it doesn't ring a bell, I have nothing happens in my brain when you say Danielle. Nothing happens in my brain when you play the song. Nothing happens. I have no recognition of it. Nothing about it is familiar. If it's familiar a little bit, maybe it rings a bell. If it's not, it doesn't ring a bell. So there's a familiarity with bell ringing and with recognition. Even if it's a small recognition, not the whole thing, okay? So that's the basic idea. So we've talked about something that slips your mind, meaning that you forgot it in the moment for some reason, whether it's a task or a fact, right? When you needed it. We've talked about jogging and refreshing your memory, jogging being a sort of poke to make you remember something you already had, refreshing being something you've forgotten, getting it again, and then ringing a bell, having a feeling of familiarity or some recognition of something that you maybe have experienced before, something that you know in the fuzzy, murky recesses of your memory that you don't have full access to. Try to make your own examples. I would love to take a look if you have them. And if you have any other questions, let me know. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, feel free to check out my full courses in the links in the description. You can get, I believe the first link in the description, a free course. My full course, Natural English Conversations.